9 minus 4 plus 2 times 2. And what does that equal? Well, here it's shown as an expression, okay? So expressions can be simplified. It's not an equation without an equal sign, but we can still simplify it. And what we're seeing a lot of answers of 14, which is wrong, 1, which is wrong, and 9, which is correct. And let me say that if you're getting the answer of 1, you've heard of the order of operations, but you don't understand it. If you're getting 14, you really don't understand the order of operations at all. If you're getting 9, you're getting the correct answer because you do understand the order of operations. I want to cover this a little bit here with this explanation. First of all, let's talk about the answer of 14. I'm seeing a lot of people answer 14. There's a lot of excuses out there like, well, old school math says 14. I grew up before computers, so it's 14. I've heard just about every excuse, but the correct answer is 9. If you're getting 14, you obviously don't understand the difference between 9 minus 4 plus 2 inside of parentheses, and then multiplying that by 2 and getting 14. And you don't understand the difference between that and 9 minus 4 plus 2 times 2 equals 9. You don't understand that you need to have parentheses that don't exist in this problem in order to get 14. And you also don't understand that multiplication is literally defined as repeated addition. You can go look at the definition of what multiplication is. Take a Webster's dictionary and look up what multiplication is. It's basically going to tell you that multiplication is repeated addition. 2 times 2 is the same thing as adding 2 twice. 2 times 2 is the same as 2 plus 2. It's just like 5 times 5. If you had 5 times 5, that means you're the same thing as adding 5 times. 5 times 5 is the same as 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. No difference here. So you can replace that multiplication with equivalent addition, and you're still going to get the only correct answer of 9. 9 minus 4 plus 2 times 2 equals 9 minus 4 plus 2, which equals 9. So 14 is completely senseless. A lot of people just think that you blindly solve left to right. That's never been true. Nobody was ever taught that, but unfortunately a lot of people forget. We have the people who are getting 1 as an answer, and I've seen people argue this one because they're convinced that PEMDAS and BODMAS are 6-step checklists, which has never been true. 1's wrong, and it indicates that you memorized the alphabetical order of 6 letters, either of PEMDAS or BODMAS, or maybe BIDMAS or BEDMAS. Doesn't really matter. But then you stopped understanding anything beyond those 6 letters. And my question to people who think it's 1 is, do you not understand the difference between 9 minus 4 plus 2 times 2 equals 9, and 9 minus, and then inside of parentheses, 4 plus 2 times 2, close parentheses, equals 1. You have to put parentheses around that part of the problem in order to get the answer of 1. And the argument that people keep making is they say, well, you do addition before subtraction. It doesn't matter what order that you add and subtract. Addition and subtraction are equal. PEMDAS and BODMAS, those are 6-letter acronyms, but they're for the 4 steps of the order of operations. PEMDAS and BODMAS both give you the same answer of 9. And a lot of people, they just don't understand that multiplication and division have equal precedence, and they're solved left to right. Addition and subtraction also have equal precedence. If you look at something like PEMDAS, it's a 4-step process. It's not a 6-letter checklist, and that's where people get really confused about this stuff. It's parentheses, exponents, and then your 3rd step, it's multiplication and division left to right. Division is nothing more than multiplying by a reciprocal, and then it's addition and subtraction. And then with BODMAS, it's brackets, orders, division and multiplication left to right. A lot of people seem to think that PEMDAS and BODMAS give you different answers because the D and the M are switched. It doesn't matter. They're the same thing. Division and multiplication have equal precedence. And then you follow up with addition and subtraction. So the first step is always multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4. Well, it's always the case here. That is 9 minus 4 plus 4 equals 9. And what happens is people are getting to the 9 minus 4 plus 4 part, and for whatever reason, they're ending up taking 9 minus 8. But the people getting 1, they don't have a concept of how operators work with numbers. You can't just randomly take a negative sign and move it over in front of a number that already has a plus sign. It takes parentheses to do that. So it's really confusing how people get this confused. All right, there we go. All right, I've got this up on the screen. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about a math problem, if that's possible.
Absolutely. I'd love to dive into a math problem with you. Just go ahead and let me know what problem you have in mind and we can chat it through.
All right, the one that comes up a lot online is 9 minus 4 plus 2 times 2 equals what? Which is a pretty simple math problem, but I see a lot of common mistakes on this one. I usually see the most common incorrect answer I see is 14, but then there's also a common incorrect answer of 1. And I kind of wanted to just go through and discuss those. They seem to come up a lot.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic one. It's always interesting how these order of operations questions spark a lot of debate. So if we look at 9 minus 4 plus 2 times 2 and follow the proper order of operations, we do the multiplication first. That means 2 times 2 is 4, and then we do the addition and subtraction from left to right. So 9 minus 4 is 5, and then 5 plus 4 is 9. But you're right, a lot of people do get tripped up and come up with 14 or 1, depending on how they group things. It's always a fun one to break down.
Yeah, and what I run into a lot of the people that say 14, they'll say things like, well, it's just numbers together. You just read left to right. I read a book left to right. I read a sentence left to right. So I should be doing my math left to right. And I think they forget what the order of operations is all about. I think they forget the fact that it's really centuries old. Um, and the other thing I think people don't realize is they forget about the relationship between multiplication and addition. And the fact that I think if you go look at the Webster's dictionary, multiplication is basically defined as repeated addition.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion really comes from. People naturally want to treat math like just reading a sentence left to right, and they kind of forget that these rules are really there for consistency. And you're right, it's a very old convention. It's been around for centuries, and it's really just about making sure everyone gets the same answer. And like you said, multiplication is basically repeated addition, so it does have a slightly higher priority. It's always fun to break that down and kind of see where people are coming from, but also remind them that there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of cases where see people make an excuse and they'll say, "Well, I never learned that new math. I was taught the old way, which was just left to right." So I see that come up as an excuse that a lot of people will use when they forget what they were taught. And there's plenty of textbooks out there. I've actually brought up textbooks from 1913, 1922, the 1950s, and they're all consistent. Multiplication has always had precedence over addition and subtraction when there are no parentheses, and I think a lot of people just forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a common myth, right? People sometimes think, oh, this is some newfangled way of doing math. And it really isn't. It's been the same rules for a very, very long time. And like you said, you can pull out a textbook from 100 years ago and it's still going to tell you the same order of operations. So it's really just about reminding people that this isn't new math. It's not a new convention. It's just the same old math that we've all kind of agreed on for a long time. And once people get that, it usually clicks and makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, agreed. And the other thing I always try to point out too is that really to get 14, you would have to add parentheses in the problem that don't exist. A lot of people are taking 9 minus 4 and they're getting 5, then they're multiplying the result of the 9 minus 4 times 2, and then they're multiplying that by or they're 9 minus 4 plus 2 times 2, they're working in that order, but actually you would need parentheses in order to get 14 as an answer. I mean, if you take 9 minus 4 and you get 5, and you multiply that by 2, well, 5 times 2 is 10, and so on. But
Yeah,
it was just kind of confusing.
no worries at all. It's a pretty common confusion to untangle, and you're totally right. To get that 14, you really have to add parentheses that just aren't there in the original problem. And that's the key thing to point out. If the problem wanted you to do it in that order, it would show you as parentheses. So it's all about just following what's there and not adding any extra steps in our heads. But yeah, it's a fun one to explain, and hopefully it clears up that confusion for anyone who runs into it.
Yeah, the other thing too, like the people who are getting 1 as an answer, that one there is really troubling too. I think a lot of people that get 1, they believe they understand the order of operations, but they really don't. I think a lot of these acronyms like PEMDAS and BODMAS, people really misunderstand those. They think they're a 6-step checklist, and I've had people insist, they just will go down swinging that they believe that M comes before D. They believe the A comes before the S, just because they memorized the order of letters in an acronym, which, honestly makes no sense. Anybody who understands addition and subtraction should understand that subtraction is the same thing as adding a negative number. So addition and subtraction are equal. And then multiplication and division. Division is nothing more than multiplying by a reciprocal. So multiplication and division, they're solved left to right. So a lot of people I don't think understand that PEMDAS, BODMAS, BEDMAS, BIDMAS, all these different acronyms, they're 6 letters, but there's only really 4 steps.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people get tripped up because they see those letters in the acronym and think it's a strict sequence rather than understanding that multiplication and division are really on the same level and addition and subtraction are on the same level. So yeah, it's more like 4 steps, not 6. And once people realize that division isn't really coming after multiplication, it's just on the same tier, it makes a lot more sense. And it does clear up those answers like getting 1 where people are just kind of mixing up the order. So yeah, I think that's a really important point to make, and it helps people see it a lot more clearly.
Yeah, and again, really, to get 1, again, you would need parentheses in the problem.
Exactly. That's the key takeaway. If someone ends up with 1, is kind of the same deal as the 14 scenario. It'd have to be adding in parentheses that just aren't in the original problem. So once you remind folks that the problem is written exactly as it is for a reason, no hidden parentheses, then it usually clicks. So yeah, it just goes to show that once people understand the rules as they've always been, it makes a lot more sense.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
You're absolutely welcome. I'm always happy to chat about math puzzles and clear up those little confusions. So if you ever have more questions or just want to dive into another topic, just let me know.